Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another PlayStation review. Today I'm taking a look at TIEBREAK on the PlayStation 5. This came out a couple of weeks ago. I picked it up pretty much on release and I did like a gameplay video soon after it came out. And I said I would, want to maybe do a review on this if I had time. Well, I've managed to put a decent amount of time into this game now. So I'm going to give you guys my feedback and thoughts on the game. Now, I'm quite a big fan of tennis, especially when I was young. I used to watch it a lot. I really quite enjoy tennis. So I've always kind of grown up playing like tennis games, and I've always had a real affection for tennis games. And for the longest time, there wasn't a great deal of decent tennis games to be had on PlayStation 4 and 5. And now we've got a little bit of an abundance of them, to be fair. So where does TIEBREAK fit into all this? Well, TIEBREAK is brought to us by Big Ant Studios, who specialise in like sports games. They do like the cricket games. I think they do the snooker games as well. And this is like the official game of the men and women's tennis tour. So they have the luxury of having a lot of named tennis players in here. You've got, the classics like Djokovic, you've got Sinner, Draper, Murray, Nadal, Federer, you've got Sabalenka, Raducanu, and many more. I mean, there's for big fans of tennis these days, and to be fair, I've lost track a little bit over the last couple of years of who the top stars are. But it's got pretty much everybody you could really want in this game. So if you're a fan of tennis, this is a good thing, really, because a lot of these tennis games these days, you might get a handful of like top stars, and then either the rest will be packed into DLC, or they just couldn't get the rights to the names or whatever. Whereas that's not the case with this one. You've got pretty much all the stars in there, and the graphics and the way the tennis stars look are all pretty good. They've got a very good likeness of them, and the overall presentation of the game itself is pretty slick. I mean, a tennis game doesn't have to be, stunningly beautiful to play or anything. But this one actually does a pretty decent job. Not the best looking game I've ever played in regards to sports, but it does its job, and it's got quite a nice way of presenting itself. Now, you've got quite a few different modes to go at here, as you would expect on a game like this. So you've got the play now option, which is essentially exhibition mode. You've got a Djokovic Slam Challenge, which basically takes you into Novak Djokovic's career and puts you in some of his most famous matches, and you've got to kind of see out the end of the match sort of thing, and or you could even, when you've unlocked it, you can kind of change the direction of a match sort of thing. It's it's quite a nice little mode, especially if you're a fan of Djokovic anyway. You've got a player creator section where you can create the player that you want to create, men or women. It's very extensive creator. It goes through the whole shebang on the way the person looks. You can alter everything about them, the clothing, what they wear, the style of tennis that they play, where they're from, so on and so forth. It is what you would expect and what you would hope for if you're wanting to create your own player here on this game. There is a tutorial mode which speaks for itself, and anybody new to tennis games, I would strongly recommend doing this. But I would also recommend, and I say this in all my reviews, if you're new to a game and you want to get used to how the game works and plays, put it on the easiest level first, get used to the mechanics, and then crack up the difficulty level then. That's basically another way of doing a tutorial, but it's just an easier way to get used to playing the game. So then you've got tournament mode. Again, speaks for itself. You can set up your own tournaments mode. It's got an online mode, and I'll be honest, I haven't played a great deal of the online mode. I've just checked it to see if it's working, and it's working fine. But I'm not really a multiplayer type of player. If that's the kind of player you are, it's there if you want to use it. And then probably where most people will be spending their time, and it's certainly where I've spent most of my time, is the career mode. So you'll go into the career mode, and then you will be planning your weeks at a time. The calendar is like a month at a time, and there's 4 weeks in the month in your calendar, and you get to kind of plan your weeks. So you can either enter a tournament any week. You can either rest or you can do training. Now, you need to do training to increase your skill points. You need to rest because you need to manage your fatigue, but also at the same time, you need to balance that with entering tournaments and trying to get your ranking up and your money up. Now, there are a few ways you can kind of balance all that in the career mode. You can hire, for example, a support team in the career mode. So you can hire people like an assistant, a trainer, a physio, a nutritionist, a photographer, sports scientist, doctor, flights, accommodation, and transport managers. And they will all kind of, if you hire them, and they all cost a certain amount of money per year, they will kind of help balance out. So, for example, your trainer will obviously improve your skill sets when you're training, sort of thing. Your physio will manage your fatigue, and so will your nutritionist kind of work on your diet, sort of thing. Your photographer kind of gets your face out there, sort of thing, so you get more coverage. Sports scientist speaks for itself, if you like. So does the doctor. They can help with injuries. And then your flights, accommodation, and transport. Even though I think all of them kind of come under the assistant bracket, they're all separate things that you've got to hire. And again, they will balance your fatigue, because fatigue is actually a big part of the career mode. If you don't manage it properly, you're going to be going into matches tired, and that's not what you want at all. So, I suppose the big thing really, how does the game play? Another thing to mention in career mode as well is you get sponsors, which increases your money as well, so that you can hire the best people for your team. And you can customize huge parts of your character as well in career mode. You can add multiple sets of clothing and rackets and just switch them on the fly, which is quite nice. So the gameplay, right. How does the game play? Well, to be honest, this is arguably the weakest part of the game, which is not a great thing if you're a tennis game. It feels a little bit janky at times. I'm not a fan of the serving mechanics. And sometimes there's like weird glitches where you don't hear the sound of the racket, hitting the ball. Or there'll be other glitches like the umpire doesn't appear in a match, and so you don't get anybody announcing like 15 love, 30 love, etc. So there's a few glitches with the sound here and there, and it just doesn't feel like the smoothest experience. You've got all your usual type of shots, you've got your slices, your flat shots, your lobs, all that kind of stuff. And they'll all improve as you improve, and you and improve your skill level. By adding to and improving your shots, by completing training. But it just, at times, I don't know, feels a little bit janky, and it's a bit too easy in the early levels of a tournament. Now, you can as well customize the tournaments in the career mode to be exactly how you want. Do you want them to be completely simulation-like, so that you do sets as you would do normally in tennis, like 6 games for a set, etc. 3 sets to win, 5 sets to win, whatever. Or you can completely change it. Now, I in the early stages of my career, I put it like 3 games to win a set. So the first person to 3 games wins a set. And then on some of the tournaments as well, I changed it to basically 3 games wins the match. So you can alter it however you want. So, I mean, some of these tennis matches can become a real slog, and you don't want to be there for like, an hour and a half just completing one match, because a tournament, to win a tournament, can end up in, first round, second round, third round. Then you got your quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals. So it could be like 6 matches, Grand Slams, even more. So you've got to kind of balance it out, I suppose. But it's completely up to you. You can go fully simulation style if you absolutely want to. So I do think the tennis here is it's fine. It works, not a problem really. It just feels a little bit sluggish, and it doesn't flow brilliantly here and there. I think it could do with a little bit more polish. But it does do its job, and at times it's got this real simulation-like feel to it, because after each point you get the option whether to do a thumb up or a thumb down. If you do a thumb up, You'll celebrate the point. If you click a thumb down, you will be upset about losing a point, and sometimes that'll mean crashing your racket on the floor, sort of thing. So it's. I'm not going to lie. I've had quite a lot of fun playing this, and I've had quite a lot of fun playing the tennis matches. And the better you get, and the better players that you play. When you start playing some of the top players, then you will definitely have some pretty fun and interesting matches. You start off, like I say, in the career mode. It takes a little bit to kind of get excited because you start way down on the rankings, like nearly 300 in the world, and then as you win matches, win tournaments, you will then start moving up. So what we have here is a pretty functional tennis game. It's more simulation than arcade, I would say, but it definitely does a pretty solid job. If you're a tennis fan and you were looking on the market for something that'll kind of scratch that itch, like I said, there have been some fairly recent releases of tennis games that could definitely give this a run for its money. I would say probably to get the full benefit out of this game, so you don't kind of feel like you're being overcharged, is my suggestion would probably be to wait for a sale. I don't think it'll take long before this makes it into a sale, but as I've said, I do think this is a solid tennis game. I've enjoyed my time with it, and I will certainly be returning to it. So thanks for joining me for this review. I hope you found it useful.